Okay, so we begin today, I'm going to begin today instead with the UN. So the UN right now, as we speak, is voting on whether to condemn the United States for moving its embassy to Jerusalem, to which we should say, F off. Who cares what you have to say? Why do I possibly care what Venezuela, where its citizens are eating dogs, have to say about where we put our embassy? Why would I care about the Organization of Islamic Countries, 57 Islamic countries who hate Jews? Why would I possibly care what they have to say about whether Jerusalem should be Jewish territory? Why in the world would I have to care about that? Yet somehow we're supposed to care about this. We're supposed to care deeply that the UN, which is basically Mos Eisley, okay, you will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy than the United Nations General Assembly. I hate the United Nations so much that while I'm against the use of eminent domain to hand over to private businesses because I think that that's illegal, I would be willing to make an exception if President Trump wanted to use eminent domain to bulldoze the UN and build a Trump Tower on top of it. I'd be fine with that. In fact, I think the best use of the UN would be to throw out all the diplomats and use it as an asylum housing project for all of the people who have to run from the garbage countries that occupy the UN. The UN is an awful institution. It has done literally nothing good since basically inception, except for voting for the establishment of the State of Israel. Name the good things the UN has done. I'll wait. Okay, then the UN is a terrible organization, and it is a wildly anti-Semitic organization. Is it a shock that they're trying to pass another assembly resolution against Israel? Is that a shock? Let me explain to you why this is not a particular shock. I begin with a few statistics. So, for all those people who are like, well, the UN, that center of moral gravitas, when they come after Israel, that really means something. No, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Here are some statistics for you. How much does the United Nations hate Israel? There are 193 countries in the UN. More than a quarter of them are Muslim countries who hate Israel. And then you haven't even gotten started with the Europeans, okay? Jews ain't exactly popular in Europe, as demonstrated by Exhibit A, the Holocaust. So things have not gone well for Jews in Europe historically. Here's how the UN has voted with regard to Israel, a country full of Jews, okay? UN Human Rights Council, which is supposed to be there to, promulgate human rights. You might think that they would have some resolutions against China for being a repressive communist country that forces abortions on its citizens. Or maybe against North Korea, a giant prison state, a giant gulag. Or maybe against Venezuela, an oil-rich petro oligarchy that has been using its oil to prop up its leadership while simultaneously forcing its citizens to shoot animals to eat in the streets. You might think that the UN Human Rights Council might have some things to say about that. Well, nah. From its creation in June 2006 through June 2016, a full decade, the UN Human Rights Council has adopted 135 resolutions criticizing countries. This is thanks to UNWatch.org. They've adopted 135 resolutions criticizing countries. 135. How many of them were against Israel? One country. 68. 68. Literally half of all UN resolutions at the Human Rights Council criticizing a country have been directed not against North Korea, not against Iran, not against Saudi Arabia, not against Egypt, not against China, not against Venezuela, not against Cuba, against Israel, the only democratic free country in the Middle East. Half of them. Okay, the UN General Assembly, as I say, the Star Wars cantina of garbage, of human debris. Okay, from 2012 through 2015, the UN General Assembly has adopted 97 resolutions criticizing countries. How many of those were against Israel? Does anyone have a wild guess? I'm taking guesses. Jonathan, how many of the UNGA has adopted 97 resolutions criticizing countries? How many of those have been against Israel specifically? 83 of the 97. 83 of 97 resolutions criticizing any country are directed against Israel. How about the UNESCO, the UN Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization? They're there for education and health. They're there to inform people. Did they have any resolutions criticizing Hamas for literally using UN schools as launching pads for rockets during the Gaza war? No, but they do have 10 resolutions a year. They adopt around 10 resolutions a year. How many of those resolutions have been against Israel? All of them. Literally all. There has been one resolution against another country, and that was against Syria in 2013. Since then, Syria's been great, by the way. Things have just been swimming in Syria. I mean, UNESCO has had nothing to say about Syria while 500,000 Syrians were slaughtered. But Israel, boy, oh boy, that Israel. The World Health Organization, right? They don't even adopt resolutions against countries. They adopt resolutions against Israel. Literally, they adopt one resolution a year, singling out Israel for condemnation. The International Labor Organization was established to improve conditions of labor, regulate work hours, and fight unemployment, and ensure adequate living wages. Israel has the strongest economy in the Middle East, and it ain't close. At its annual conference, The ILO only produces one country-specific report. Guess the name of the country. So, is it super shocking that the UN has decided to single out Israel and say that Jerusalem is not Jewish territory? Is it super shocking that the Palestinian Authority, a terrorist group, has come out and said, how dare the United States try to blackmail us? They're trying to blackmail us. They're trying to say that if we oppose them, they'll cut off aid. The United States. Okay, the Palestinians don't get to talk about blackmail. Palestinian Authority, Hamas, Islamic Jihad. Their entire strategy is if you don't give us what we want, we will come into your house and murder your children. That is, extortion is their entire political strategy and has been for decades. But they're ripping the United States. So, as I said earlier, Nikki Haley, the UN ambassador under President Trump, is my spirit animal. President Trump led off this UN thing by saying himself, listen, if they want to oppose us at the UN, we'll just cut their funding.
Take hundreds of millions of dollars and even billions of dollars, and then they vote against us. Well, we're watching those votes. Let them vote against us. We'll save a lot. We don't care.
Love it. Love it. Yes. Okay, this is the Trump who in 2011 I thought maybe he'd be a good president. This is not just good Trump. This is not just great Trump. This is exhilarating Trump. Okay, this is fantastic Trump. The big FU to all these countries who take our money and then use it for terrorism. And he says, fine, you want to vote against us? We'll just cut off your money. How's that? How you like that? How you like them apples? Love it. And then Nikki Haley goes full bore Jeane Kirkpatrick at the UN. And it is fantastic. Nikki Haley, you can see I don't know whether to say that I have Haley-esque rage or she has Shapiro-esque rage. But whatever it is, we have mind merged here. Nikki Haley is now at the UN, not Nikki Haley all the time, but Nikki Haley at the UN, at the General Assembly. This is my spirit animal right here.
The United States will remember this day in which it was singled out for attack in the General Assembly for the very act of exercising our right as a sovereign nation. We will remember it when we are called upon to once again make the world's largest contribution to the United Nations. And we will remember it when so many countries come calling on us, as they so often do, to pay even more and to use our influence for their benefit. America will put our embassy in Jerusalem. That is what the American people want us to do. And it is the right thing to do. No.
Yes. Yes. Okay, this is correct. Why we even spend a dime at this defunct, pathetic institution is beyond me. We should just bulldoze the damn place, and we should make all these jackasses pay their parking tickets. We should make all these diplomats who have been out there raping people and they have diplomatic immunity. We should drag them into court. Like, enough of this nonsense. Okay, the UN is a garbage institution. It's been a garbage institution for quite a while.